Hey everybody, my name is JD Scholten, and I'm honored to be here today with State Representative Lindsay James.
Honor is mine, JD. But even more importantly is the candidates that we're going to get a chance to interview here in a moment. For those of you who don't know, the Iowa Democratic State Central Committee is about to vote on the new chairperson for the Iowa Democratic Party in just a few weeks. And so we are doing a series of interview of all of the candidates who are vying for this position so that you across the state of Iowa can weigh in with the Central Committee on who you think should lead the Iowa Democratic Party.
Absolutely, and with that, I want to thank the Iowa Democratic Wingding Committee for hosting this event. And with that, Lindsay, do you want to ask the first question?
Yes,
All right.
thank you, Wingding. We love you. Yes, Brett, thank you so much for coming on today. We're going to start you off with an easy question, ease you in. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm Brett Copland. I live in Dickinson County. I'm currently the county chair here. Dickinson County has always been home for me, although I've never actually lived here before 2017. I was born in Sioux City and lived in Des Moines and Davenport. Moved to Texas, did about 10 years in Washington, D.C., but this has always been home. This is where my grandfather raised his family, and I spent a lot of time growing up. So it's wonderful to be here in rural Iowa and really seeing the potential. And I think that's what constantly blows me away. There's so much potential out here. But when it comes to politics, it seems that both Republicans and Democrats kind of forget that people are out here needing not necessarily help, but for somebody to clear barriers for them to be successful in rural Iowa. And I think that right now, the Iowa Democratic Party, our back is against the wall. I think that we'll be facing a really big money crunch just because of the lack of success that we've had here in the last couple of years. But I think more than anything, that's exciting because I have never been surrounded by a better group of people than Iowa Democrats. We have the expertise, the knowledge, the love for each other and the people that we serve that we can totally win. So as chair, I'm not really proposing any new major programs or big staff hires or technology purchases. I think that we can win simply by living our values loudly, leading boldly, and empowering the people who are already doing the work, and just simply kind of connecting our values and our story as Iowa Democrats to what's already happening out here and presenting a big vision for Iowa to get behind.
And so one of the things the chair has to have is a vision. And so I know you briefly talked about it there. Is there anything more you'd like to add to it, like where you like to see the party go, kind of, and maybe even go into the role of it a little bit as well?
Thanks. Well, I think that part of the reason that we're losing voters here is that we are kind of seen as the party, and this is kind of not just me, but kind of what I'm reading from the area that I live in up here in rural Northwest Iowa. We're seen as kind of the party of resistance and reversal, and Republicans are just status quo. And I think for a lot of things that we really care about, it's hard for the average voter to see those things at play in their daily lives. I think Kim Reynolds is terrible. I think that her lack of action has really resulted in the death of a lot of Iowans. I think that the Republican State House has really drained rural communities over here. And their basic philosophy is, there's nothing that we can do. And I think that a lot of folks look at the Democratic Party and see almost the same philosophy, but just a little differently. There's nothing we can do because we're not in the majority. I disagree with that. I think that we can make change in lots of different places, whether it's big change or small change, and really show the value of the Iowa Democratic beliefs and policies and people in real ways that will result in wins at the ballot box later. But we just need to make sure that we're telling that story across Iowa, empowering those folks on the activists who are already doing the work, and really collaborate and coordinate what we're talking about. I don't think that it is my job as IDP chair to present a vision of what Iowa should be. Iowa Democrats have already done that. They already know what Iowa needs to be. It's my job to make sure that at the state level, I'm giving the tools and the resources to the folks on the ground who are doing that work already, and making sure that I'm telling their story at a state level, and making sure that Representative James and our Senate leaders are we're giving them support, giving them information, and being able to show Iowans what they're doing at the State House for all Iowans. And I think that's going to result in wins. So again, no major new programs. We don't have the money. I think that as long as we're acting in best practices as an organization, we can totally do this.
That's great. Well, thank you for that answer. And you mentioned money, so I want to follow up on that. You also mentioned tools and resources. It's going to take some tools and resources to implement your vision. How do you plan to fundraise in order to match this vision?
I think that there's a role for all of us in fundraising. JD is a great example of what the potential for fundraising is online. With a very clear message, with a very clear vision of what not just rural Iowa could be, but all of Iowa could be. There are a lot of people online who are looking for that information, looking for that inspiration, and are willing to throw some bucks our way if they think it's possible with the Iowa Democrats. So really mining our activists online, speaking boldly, being very clear in our intent, I think is really critical when it comes to messaging and motivating people to give. But there's also the mechanical side. I think there's a role in this organization for everyone to fundraise, from, of course, my role as the chair, but also for our SCC and folks in our constituency caucuses. The people who are working on the SCC, they're our best leaders. Our constituency caucus leaders are essentially the closest that IDP headquarters is to voters, the voters that we need to win. So how can we make sure that they've got a strategic plan and fundraising goals and outcomes and tools that we can provide them so that they're talking to voters on voters' terms, meeting voters where they are, and really moving us towards, again, winning at the ballot box. So I think that there's a role in this organization that everybody can play when it comes to advocating for our issues, raising money, and really supporting our candidates across the board.
Yeah. One thing we hear a lot is a lot of criticism of the IDP all throughout different party events and things like that. What's one thing though, what's something that the IDP has done well over the past few years that I think that needs to get drawn out?
I think that individual staff members that I've worked with are obviously really committed. I think that they have been in Iowa politics a long time. They genuinely care about improving the state. So I think that everybody's heart and passion for the Iowa Democratic Party is spot on. And I think more importantly, passion for improving our state is spot on. I think that what they've been missing is kind of that strong leadership direction to where they feel supported and can execute in a way that supports volunteers so that we do win at the ballot box. My heart really goes out to these folks because they've been toiling for years, putting tons of hours into this. Nobody wants to lose, but they've been working really, really hard. And to keep losing like this, it shows that it's not a staff work problem. It shows that it's not a lack of hard work. We can knock the doors, we can raise the money, we can make the phone calls. We've proven we can all do that. So there's obviously something else happening here. And I think that part of it is a decisive leader who can prioritize and really direct people into being effective. I think that a lot of times at IDP headquarters, everybody's just kind of looking for somebody to make a decision. Tell us which way to go. And I think, especially after sitting in on one of the SCC meetings, a lot of those folks want to get to the same place, but it's really hard to do if you don't have a clear direction and someone showing that action and forward motion is happening. So that transparency, I think, is going to be a really necessary thing to build trust back with Iowa Democrats and really showing the value of the IDP headquarters.
That's great. You're leading me right into the next question perfectly, Brett. Thank you for that. So why do you specifically want to be IDP chair, and what makes you the right person for this role?
I have had the privilege of working at, I don't know if it's the privilege, misfortune, but working at organizations who have been in crisis. I was a senior communications program manager at the General Services Administration for a contractor, but working with the senior team on the government side over there when what now seems like a quaint scandal broke out during the Obama administration, and the agency had to have a top to bottom review, an examination, and leadership change. And I really got to see the rebuilding of an organization during the Obama years, the good and the bad. At the same time, I worked at a federal union. We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees, at the time, was the largest federal employee labor representative, representing folks at almost every federal agency, a huge organization with a lot of members and a lot of varied perspectives on what a priority should be for our union. First point of views, seeing an organization that had a lot of balls in the air, that had to juggle a lot of things, while also realizing that there's going to be some part of it out of their control, what they did wrong and right. I have these experiences from the campaign trail. My first campaign that I worked on was for my friend who ran for school board, all the way up to Jean Shaheen in New Hampshire. I really have seen a lot of different perspectives of politics. Again, the good and the bad. And that's true for Democrats, just as it is for Republicans on Capitol Hill. I think that I recognize that there has to be trust and give and take built between the party and the people that we're serving. Something that I didn't feel between my labor union and Democrats on Capitol Hill in DC. I think that we have an incredible opportunity to tell the story of the Iowa Democratic Party. And that's really what my passion in life has been about, connecting people, telling people stories, learning their stories, and then helping them find the right tools so that they're successful and can lead from where they are. This is a service role as party chair. I'm not here running for any state level position. My job is to make sure that Democrats win elections, because I believe that Iowa Democrats have a vision that is going to improve this state. And it needs to happen in Representative James's district. It needs to happen in Iowa 4 with JD, and it needs to happen at the local level, and it needs to start happening now. So I think that we have a really unique opportunity here, because we've seen what doesn't work. It's time for some bold experimentation, to live loud, live our values loudly, and really lead boldly forward. So I'm excited to do it, and I love the folks here in the Iowa Democratic Party and in Iowa.
I wrote something in Bleeding Heartland, and it talked about the role of what the chair should do, and I viewed it as they got to fundraise, they got to communicate, and have that vision. And so, is there other things you think that the role is? Because I think sometimes folks think the role is something different than what the reality of it, and it's not about pushing the party one way or the other. Mm-hmm. It's about winning elections and in doing so. So I guess I didn't mean to answer that in the question, but what do you define as the role of the party chair?
Again, this is really about connecting people with each other and tools and resources. We need to make sure that we have candidates who feel confident and supported when they're running for races. They need to have a foundation of what it means to run as a Democrat wherever you are in this state. As far as I can do that at the top of the party, I'll be their biggest cheerleader in making sure that they never have to question whether we have their back or not. I think that, the party platform is made by the Iowa Democrats. It is not my role to decide what is in that platform. That happens through a convention process. But when it is made, I am going to sell the hell out of that thing, because it is what is best for Iowa, because our Democrats have decided that it is.
Absolutely. Lindsay, do you have any other questions?
Oh, no, I'm just so interested. I thank you for all of your comments.
Yeah. Do you have any, Brett, do you have anything you want to end on?
I think that, especially after my Des Moines Register column, I think people thought that I'm like negative or that I don't believe in the party and stuff like that. But I think that we have incredible voices here in the party, and they're asking for something different, and that's not wrong. It's just how we're going to grow. And if we hear them genuinely and try and listen and understand what they're asking for and providing them the tools to accomplish that, I don't care where you live, we're going to win in Iowa and across Iowa. But it's got to start now. And I am so excited to be Iowa Democratic Party chair. If I'm not, we have an incredible group of candidates who are running too. And I am more than happy to stay out here in rural Iowa and continue fighting, because we have such a great state. I think I live in the best place in the world in Dickinson County. So I have no complaints about having to stay up here if I don't make it. But it would just be such an honor and privilege to work with you all and all of our great Democrats across the state to really tell the true story of what it means to be an Iowa Democrat. I have nothing but hope and excitement for our party, and I think it's going to be a great 2 years as we figure this out and talk to people like Stacey Abrams and Ben Wickler and really find what works for us. You know, nobody in Washington, D.C. is going to come here and save us. None of these presidential candidates, whether it's Biden or somebody else, is going to come here and like carry us across the finish line. This is work that we're going to have to do together and ourselves. And we can do it because we are the experts here when it comes to Iowa politics and what it means to improve the state. So I'm so excited to get started and have more conversations like this one and hear from folks. But can I do a plug?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want to learn more about me and my job history and more personal experiences, go to brettwcopeland.com. That's Brett with 2 T's. And you'll also find my email and phone number if you want to chat with me personally. I just, Representative James, JD as always, and the wingding. Oh my gosh, the wingding.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to totally claim this as I got to be on the wingding stage. So.
That's right. It's a big honor, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But thank you all
My
so
favorite
much.
photos are from the wingding. So, well, Brett, thank you very much on behalf of State Representative Lindsay James, myself, and the Iowa Democratic Wingding Committee. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Awesome.